Hello, welcome. I'm Penny Thornton and I'm talking astrology. On this video, I'm going to be talking about the new moon in Virgo on the 27th of August. I'm going to be talking about a lot of other things too, but that really is our central theme. Now, this new moon takes place on the 27th at 8:18 UTC, so that you can adjust those times really from wherever you are in the world. And I think before I get into this new moon and we start to look at the setting that it's in, what else is going on surrounding that time, which of course makes a huge difference to the effects of the new moon and its themes of new beginnings, a little bit more colored. It shapes it kind of differently. So what I wanted to do really was talk about Virgo, because there are such a lot of misunderstandings about this earth sign. And it always fascinates me that when I have Virgo clients, a lot of them, and of course Virgo friends as well, they always go to great lengths to explain that they're not really Virgo. How extraordinary. No. They've got a lot of planets in Libra, a lot of planets in Leo, and they've got this sun rising or that sun rising. So really, they're hardly Virgo at all. Well, what I want to say is embrace your sun sign, Virgo, because it is a terrific sun sign. And I'm just going to go through a few of the reasons why I think it's just such a great sign. I think also you can sort of get a little bit of a Virgo coloring to your sun if it's in the 6th house. But you know what I'm like about sun signs. That's your solar personality, if you like. It's your brand. It's like your nationality. So it's really, really significant, the sign it's in. But there is a kind of Virgo coloring to your sun if you have it in the 6th house. So what do we know about Virgo? What do we need to know about Virgo? Well, the first thing we need to know is that it's an earth sign. So it is practical. It is of the earth. It likes things to be real and purposeful. It isn't concerned with the flimsy and the fluffy. It wants reality. But it's also a mutable sign. And the mutable signs are interested in information, receiving information, dispersing it. They're very equivocal, don't like to be nailed down to the mast, don't like their colors nailed down to the mast, because there might be changes that could happen that will alter your opinion. Now, the other mutable signs are Sagittarius and Gemini and Pisces. So you're part of that group, each one of the other mutable signs being in a different element. Now, you're ruled by Mercury, which, of course, is another reason why you're so interested in information and education and things that really teach us about life, teach us about the world we live in. And, of course, Virgos are great educators. And perhaps not necessarily because they become real teachers in life or they go into academia, but because really Virgos have a philosophy that they don't give people fish. They teach them how to fish. Virgos are all great how-to merchants. Now, another thing that I often hear about Virgo, which I think is misunderstood, is the fact that it's a sign of perfectionism. Well, that's not true in that sense. Virgos are interested and are driven to be excellent, and that's different. If we look at Libra, they are the perfectionists of the zodiac, but Virgos are all about excellence. Whatever they do has to be the best it can be, and they're always the best of themselves. And yes, they are an understated sign, which is probably the reason why that self-deprecation goes as far as not really to waving a banner about the sign they are. And in fact, I'll give you a little description. One of my friends many years ago, who was a Virgo, had done just what I was saying, explained that she wasn't really a Virgo at all. But we were in a shopping, and I was trying on a dress, I think, and she was there, and she was looking at it, and she kept saying to me, you know, this is not right. This is not right. And I was sort of vaguely insulted, as I thought it looked really pretty okay. And suddenly her eyes leapt upon a flaw in the pattern, minuscule. But it was important because it would have unraveled and, you know, the dress would have been ruined. So that's the kind of perception Virgos have. And it's a metaphor. What I've just described is a metaphor for that kind of personality. Of course, they're great critics, most of all a critic of themselves. They're their own worst critics, but they do have a few other flaws as well. And if you are a Virgo, it's good to be aware of them so that perhaps you can understand them better. It's part of you, but the faults really lie in sort of being over concerned about things, especially health, and about, you know, small things as opposed to the bigger picture. And also because you like to be helpful, you like to do things, you like to be of service to others. Virgo in the 6th house all have a strong sense of service, but somehow this can occasionally go too far. And what you feel is you never get the rewards or the recognition for what you do, and that can turn you into a bit of a martyr. So all Virgos have to watch they don't hold pity parties too often. But otherwise, it's a simply fantastic sign. Embrace it. Be proud to be a Virgo. So let's get back to our new moon, and let's have a look at how it looks in the context of all the other planets. So here we can see the new moon at the very top of the chart. Well, not quite at the top. It's in a sort of 11 o'clock position. And that's because I've set this particular new moon for Turkey, for Istanbul. And, you know, I like to do this every time, like to change it up a bit, look at the new moon and the full moon from different parts of the world. And I've never been to Turkey, always wanted to go, fascinated by Turkish culture and its cuisine. And I have a lot of Turkish clients, which is, you know, another reason. But as we can see from the perspective of Turkey, this new moon occurs at 18 minutes past 11 in the morning. So it hasn't yet reached the midday position, which means it's right up there at noon in the 12 o'clock position in our horoscope. And one of the things I want to point out here, especially if you're studying astrology, is that it's a great help to understand where the sun will be at different parts of the day, because you can always check whether you've actually got the right chart or not. I mean, if you're looking at a chart and it's set for midday and you've got the sun over on the western horizon in the 7th house, you know something is wrong somewhere. And likewise, if you're born at midnight, early hours in the morning, the sun is under the earth, under the horizon, cannot be seen. So again, if you're born at 10 o'clock in the morning and somehow you've got a chart with the sun in the 4th house, you absolutely know it's not right. And in the old days, when I was learning astrology, I had to do all the calculations myself, using logarithms and eventually a calculator. But my goodness, did it teach me a lot about making mistakes, and just being able to know where the sun is a big help. And, you know, you can do that when you talk to your friends, even if you don't know much about astrology. If they say they're born at midday, well, you know, the sun in that sign, let's say, for instance, it's Leo. So they're born with the sun in Leo. 3 signs back from that in the ascendant position is going to be 3 signs from there, which means it's going to be Libra or Scorpio. So you've got a good idea of what the ascending sign is as well. So let's look at this chart, and we can see there with our new moon, 4 degrees of Virgo and 4 minutes. We want to look at the numbers that seem to connect with that. And the first thing we can see is Mars in the sort of 2 to 3 o'clock position at 4 degrees of Gemini. So there is an exact Sun-Mars square on that day. And, you know, not only that, the new moon is exactly square Mars. So Mars adds a quality to our new moon. So if our new moon is about new beginnings, new chapters opening, new energy coming in, however you want to look at that, we see Mars angling it. It says this is a kind of intense and very action-packed new moon, maybe also a little conflict-driven. And that pattern really is going to be alive and well, really, for the following 2 weeks during the waxing cycle of the new moon till it reaches full moon, because the sun is going to continue to be in relationship with Mars as it moves along the sides. So one of the things that we might look at with that idea of a sun and moon squaring Mars is impulsiveness. If someone's born with that kind of configuration, they will be impulsive. They might be a tad kind of, well, certainly assertive. Even with the new moon in Virgo, they're going to be assertive because Mars is adding to that sun-moon quality. But they're also self-driven and maybe a tad on the defensive side as well. That's what we look at. But we can also look at the time that this is happening, and we can see that the events going on in the world are going to show us this. And we're not too far. I think about England and the whole idea of choosing the next prime minister, the leader of the Conservative Party. My goodness, there's going to be a lot of fierce argument and competition at this time. It just gives you an idea. Competition, fast movement, quick things happening suddenly. Also in this mix, and you can probably see it, is Venus at 19 degrees of Leo, close to the sun, and that is squaring 90 degrees away from Uranus in the 6 o'clock, the sort of, no, not 6 o'clock, the 3 o'clock position. So we got a Venus-Uranus square. And in fact, on the weekend, that's because the 27th is a Saturday, the 28th is a Sunday, we've got this Venus-Uranus square, and Venus is also opposing Saturn down there at the very bottom of the chart. Now, we've had a lot of play on this theme throughout August. We started off with Mars conjuncting Uranus and squaring Saturn, and we've gone through the Sun squaring Uranus, and now we're coming up to Venus squaring Uranus and opposing Saturn. So we're on a bit of a roll here. And again, we're looking at that dynamic of Saturn-Uranus, which is restriction versus freedom. It's life is a bit of a struggle, liberation being the key here, but also fairly stressful because there are events over which we appear to have no control. So we're seeing this written or writ large in this particular horoscope. Just before the new moon, the sun goes into Virgo, and it will do that on the 22nd of August at 3:17 in the morning UTS. So you can make that adjustment accordingly, because it's really important. If you've got babies being born, you want to know whether they're Leos or Virgos. And of course, those two are really, really very different entities. Leo being a fire sign, Virgo being an earth sign. And I think I went into that in my last video, and certainly on my website, where I was talking about Prince George, who was born when this at the full moon. If he'd been born like an hour, minutes earlier, he would have been well, he is a Cancer. A little bit later, he would have been a Leo, and we'd have a very, very different Prince George. So these things matter. Also, on the 26th of August, Mercury moves into Libra. So, as I often say, when Mercury moves into your sign, you get the power of speech. And suddenly, information, conversations, messages, travel, going from A to B, these all become super evident in your life. Mercury, I have to say, once it gets into Virgo, into Libra, a little way forward, in fact, on the 10th of September, full moon day, will turn retrograde. So got a little advice to you here, that if you've got things, loose ends, or things that you really want to have under your belt, then getting down to them from the new moon period in that 2 weeks before the full moon is really advisable. Returning to Mars in Gemini again, because this too is a kind of important factor to bear in mind for all of us, because very often when Mars is in a sign, it's only in a sign for 6 weeks. That's how long it takes Mars to move through each sign. But on this occasion, Mars is going to remain in Gemini right through until the 25th of March next year. So we're really going to have an education into how Mars in Gemini manifests. So, certainly Gemini, the sign of the twins. So we've got a lot of things that are suggestive of two sides of things, looking at things from a lot of different perspectives, the importance of communication, social media, big talks, important political talks and political situations. These are all very typical when we have Gemini really activated by planets moving through that sign. So believe you me, even if you have nothing in Gemini, you're going to have an education in what Gemini means to you during these next few months. So I think that sort of takes us broadly through what I want to show here. So let's come back to me, and we'll talk a little bit more about what this new moon means as we go from sign to sign. Now, the hallmark, as I've said, of a new moon, or the general meaning, all new moons, they're about new beginnings. So they open up a cycle. Now, it's very important, I believe, to be conscious about this, because when we consciously begin something new, we pay more attention to it, we give it more power, if you like. And so during the course of the year, when we get 12 or 13 new moons, depending on the year, we have 12 or 13 opportunities to start over, but in different areas of our horoscope, different areas of life, and different signs. So it really is important. And I think I was explaining in something else I was writing recently, this idea of the new moon, full moon cycle being like the rhythm of life, new moon beginnings, coming up to full moon, closure and endings, winding down. And this is on a monthly level. So it's it's always good to note the new moon and think, oh, what do I need to start over in? What area of life am I challenged, if you like, to make a new beginning? And that's what I'm going to be looking at right now. Well, obviously, for Virgo, the new moon is in your sign. So this new moon, this new beginning, is all about you. It's all about you personally. It's also going to be a new moon in your first house if you have Virgo rising. So it's still about you, your persona, your image. Now, we all have ambitions, and we all have things that we want to have happen. And often they depend on other people, joining with us, or other situations that are not under our control. But if you've got a new moon in your sign, Virgo, first house, and it means you're in the driver's seat. So it's up to you to get behind things, to get them moving and motoring. And as I said, it has a lot to do with your image as well. So it's a good time to sort of look at your image, whether you look at that in terms of your work and your branding. Maybe you have a social media side to it. Does that need freshening up? Do you need to look at new aspects of you and your brand? Or does it mean the you that looks in the mirror and thinks, I could do with a makeover? Something new. It's good to refresh and to start things new and to put your personal stamp on things. And I talked about Virgo, what a self-deprecating sign you are, how you like to work behind the scenes rather than in the full glare of publicity. So I think it might be useful to know that it is important for you to put your signature on things. And maybe that simple phrase, putting your signature on things, is going to be a good kind of little motto for this new moon period. Remember, that's going to go from the 27th through until we get to the 10th of September and the full moon. So if we come to the opposite sign, Pisces, then the new moon occurs in your 7th house. Or if you've got Pisces rising, then the new moon is going to occur in your 7th house. So that is all about new chapters relationship-wise. Now, we all have lots of relationships. We have relationships with our friends. We have relationships with our colleagues if we work. We have relationships with our family. We have business relationships, business partnerships even. And of course, we have those all-important one-on-one love relationships. So the new moon here covers a pretty big field. So it's good for new starts here. So let's think really about a new start in your significant relationship, your life partner kind of relationship. Is it time to remake your vows, which would be a real positive and big statement to make? Or is it time to put your relationship on a whole new level? Maybe you've just been dating and it's time to say, you know what, we are an item. Or is it to say, we've been together for X amount of time, let's make it legal? So new moon's about new stages in a relationship. And if you've been single or you've been looking for a business partner or someone to partner up with, perhaps to further your career or your interests, whatever it is, this new moon is a signal to get moving. And remember, this new moon is square Mars, so there's quite a hurry up about it. It's quite a supercharged kind of new moon. So things are probably going to come to you, or you're going to activate them in a really powerful, courageous, speedy way. If we look at Gemini or Gemini rising, then this new moon is in the 4th house. So it is all about the things that amount to your base in life. Now, of course, you can have a sanctuary somewhere, and that is 4th house to you, or it's bricks and mortar. It's where you live. But your family are also your base. I mean, let's face it, your family is where you come from. So things to do with your home, things to do with the family, and things to do with the foundations of the future. This new moon is telling you all about new chapters in this area of life. Perhaps it signals a new arrival, whether that means a new baby is coming into the family, or maybe a new member of the family by marriage, or simply, however our children meet up with new partners, or even our parents meet up with new partners. And so it has a new dimension to family life. Or does it mean something new happening to the home itself? And given that Mars aspect to that new moon, maybe it's a sudden realization, oh, I can't live with this wallpaper anymore, it's got to go. Or is it, I can't live here anymore, it's time to move on. So there is quite a lot of movement and quite aggressive, assertive movement with this new moon. And given, Gemini, you've got Mars in your sign, you are definitely the driver of the bus here. So you are going to want to change things, especially on the home front, that really don't please you. So if we come to Sagittarius, we're looking at the 10th house, a new moon in the 10th house of life direction. Now, I mentioned career in this regard too, and I have a lot of kind of emails from you saying, yeah, but I don't have a career. So does that mean there's nothing happening with the new moon in the 10th house? Well, of course, everybody has goals. Everybody has a reason to look outside their front door and their window onto the world and see that there are things that they want to have happen, things they want to manifest in terms of real things. Remember, that 10th house is ruled by Saturn. It's a Capricorn house. So we want to make realities of the ambitions and the hopes and even the dreams we have. So this new moon is about getting behind your ambitions. Now, obviously, I want to put the ball in your court so that you get behind it, Sagittarius, so that you think, right, I got to create some movement here. There are things I need to do, maybe a change of career, a change of job. You need to look at some of the projects and activities you're engaged with. And you think, if I want to have this life that I want to have, I've got to do X, Y, and Z, got to get behind it. But just occasionally, a new moon will, of course, indicate that something new, a new opportunity, a new way forward, a new platform even, is coming to you. And again, let's look at that 2-week period during the waxing phase of the moon. And of course, we've got quite a lot of Uranus activity in here as well, looking at the map of our new moon. So again, we're looking at things being a bit of a surprise. Hey, that came out of nowhere, sort of thing. If we move on to Scorpio, we see that this new moon takes place in the 11th house, the same if you have Scorpio rising. And the 11th house is one of these houses that has a lot to do with structure, has a lot to do with security, and it has a lot to do with things that amount to certainly in the 11th house, quite an idealistic part of the chart. It's a very humanitarian area of the chart, has a lot to do with group consciousness as opposed to personal me consciousness. And it also has to do with collaborations, whether we're looking at business enterprises, whether we're looking at collaborations between you and colleagues at work, or whether it's you, nothing to do with work, but just combining your energies and the things you want to do with other people. When the sun is moving through the 11th house, which of course it is at this time, and we have a new moon there, it means that the energies of the group are where you need to place your energies to. And the power of the group is going to be greater than your individual power. Yes, there could be new collaborations about to form. There could be new phases for an enterprise that is already existing, whether it's a social enterprise, a creative enterprise, or whether it has something to do, again, with work and business. So the new moon here is a signal to get moving and expecting new chapters, getting behind new chapters, but always with the thought of the group, of collaboration, of teamwork in the mix. And I think we can stretch this out here to relationships, because, you know, when we are living with another person, they are part of our life, they're our life partner or sharing our lives. You know, sometimes it's difficult to know, you know, how much of your independence you can have and how much of it depends on the partner. So what happens when we've got a strong emphasis in the 11th house and we have a new moon here? It says, you know what? You're stronger as a team. Become a team. Focus on your team goals as a couple. And my goodness, will that strengthen your relationship? Now, if we come to Taurus, this new moon is in the 5th house. It's the area of me, my personal life, my creative self, my inner child, all these things that are so central to who you are as an individual. If the 11th house is about your place in the group and collaboration being front forward, then when we think of the 5th house, it's very much about the self. It's about the creative act coming from within yourself, from your inner muse, from your inner child. It's about the creation of joy, the finding of joy, and letting joy motivate you. And as I always say, getting creative brings joy to ourselves in whatever form you find, you know, you express your creativity in. But of course, it's not just creativity, it can be pro-creativity. So this area of the house has a lot of the horoscope, or this, you know, position of the new moon has a lot to do with pro-creativity, bringing new life into the world. And we can bring new life into the world in many ways, but of course we can bring a baby into the world. So again, we could be looking at this area of life. And excuse me, but what do we need in order to make babies? We need romance. We need some kind of physical connection with someone else. And so the 5th house is about romance. It's about affairs of the heart, and it's about actions leading to a delivery further along the road. So all those things are very worth keeping in mind as we look at this new moon for you, Taurus, in the 5th house. If we come to Aquarius, this new moon is in the 8th house. Oh my goodness. Another area of deep mystery. I remember when I was learning astrology, I used to kind of think, oh, what do I do with this house? Death and rebirth. How does that work? Is it showing me when I'm going to die? You know, oh, it's a bit scary. But of course, the 8th house is about regeneration. It is about that process of going deep in order to produce something and bring it into the light. It's a wonderful process of death and rebirth in inverted commas. Now, it also, this 8th house has to do with finances, but it's the kind of finances that are kind of finances related to other people. So it's your relationship with financial parties, credit card companies, insurance companies, even banks, lending institutions, but it's also your business partnership financially, and it's your life partnership financially as well. It's anything that you share with another person or dependent on another person for your finances. The new moon may signal a new contract that is to come between you and a financial institution. It could indicate a new development linked to finance, whether that is a bonus of some description, or whether it's a settlement, or whether it's an inheritance even. This house too is about receiving. And I think some of us are great givers, and it's easy to give. It's easier to give. It's really hard to receive. And that's why this area is a little bit fraught, because Aquarius, you know, we're looking at this new moon in the 8th house, and the sun, of course, will have been passing through the 8th house for a little bit longer, and will continue through the 8th house right through until about 22nd, 23rd of September. That's a big, long time. And we're focusing on this new moon in this area. So it is about learning to receive and allowing others to give to you, and to perhaps not always be driving the bus when it comes to finances. And this also lends itself to the idea of intimacy, because of course we have to give ourselves over to another person when we are intimate with them. We have to, you know, open ourselves to intimacy, and that can be a very scary thing. So it offers you an opportunity to do just that, to be more open to intimacy, and it may mean a new intimate relationship is on its way, or if you are already in an intimate relationship, a new stage or a new chapter available to you to improve and expand your intimate life. Leo, here we are in the 2nd house, or if you've got Leo rising, you've got this new moon in the 2nd house. And this is an area where we do the building. You know, all the kind of fixed houses are to do with some kind of structuring and security and building things and creating structures. So for you, it's about your income. It's about your assets. It's about what you do to manage your money and to make money. So the new moon means a variety of things. It may mean a new source of income for you. It may mean a new kind of job starting. So you've got a whole new stream of income coming in. But it can be also new ways to look at finances. And you know, I'm not a financial expert, and I would say that I'm not particularly good with finances. But certainly when you get into your financial picture and you look at it, you pay some attention to it, you can start to see new ways to deal with your money that's going to make you more secure and wealthier. And this is what this new moon is all about. It's about increasing your income, allowing your income and your assets to grow. But of course, it's not just about money. It's also about yourself, your own value, and how important it is to have a sense of real value in yourself, and that other people value you. And of course, the more value you place in yourself, the more you know what you're worth, and you know what you do is worthy of good payment or acknowledgement, the more it seems to be that people pay you more compliments, do more, and of course, maybe ultimately it gets you a job and it gets you more money. So that new moon is also all about new forms or new ways to increase your self-value. Aries. Now, where is this new moon for you? It's in the 6th house. So I've done quite a little bit of discussion on the 6th house and Virgo and how this area of the horoscope has a lot to do with sense of service, what we do for others. It's also a house in which gives us our sense of purpose. Oh, so important. That's why Virgo, the 6th house, terribly underrated in astrology, because, you know, what is the purpose of our lives? We tend to find it in the 6th house, or a clue or a key to what it is. And so while the sun is moving through this area, which it will do until 22nd of September, 23rd, then we have an opportunity to get to discover more about our life purpose. And also, really, it's not just in a vacuum, because the 6th house is also about what we do for other people in our lives, what's beneficial by what we do that benefits others. And a new moon here offers you an opportunity to really be of benefit to others. Now, it might also mean here's a new job, because we do the work of life and we go to work in the 6th house. So new things coming into our work routine, into the workplace, and maybe in some cases, a new job. And again, we can maximize that by getting behind it and networking and thinking about what there might be out there, as well as we could just wait for the text to come or the email to come or the phone to ring and somebody offers us something new. This house is also about systems. So life systems, it's how our life runs. And periodically, we need to look at what is the context of our daily life, our weekly life, our monthly life, and what in it could benefit from some kind of new structure, so we have more time to do what we want to do. So getting our systems in order is important, and this new moon allows you to create new systems, new order, new organization in your life. It's also the health system. So this means a new cycle beginning for your health. And we might maximize that, Aries, by getting fitter and stronger, eating better, looking to see what are the areas of our general health and well-being are not functioning too well, getting it attended to. Is it time to have your annual dentist visit? Or is there something that you maybe need to look at with your dentist or with an old injury? All these kind of things. The new moon is pointing to a new cycle for health and well-being. Now, if we move on to Libra, of course, Virgo is your preceding sign. So it means the sun is moving through this area of the chart until it comes into your sign on the 22nd, 23rd of September. So it's a time of preparation. It's a time of dissolution. And I think a lot of people don't understand, what do I mean by dissolution? I think immediately of the dissolution of the monasteries, which I had to learn when I was at school. And we think of that, we think about, getting rid of the monasteries. Well, no, not quite like that. Dissolution is really about dissolving things and finding out what the essence of things really is. So we do a lot of processing. And because it's almost a year since the sun was moving through your sign and you began a whole new solar cycle, you've got 12 months of experiences to really process, to allow that process of dissolution to occur. So you reflect on them, you think of them, you take what is useful out of them, and take that through to the beginning of your new solar cycle. So the new moon here is also something of an awakening. Now, it isn't, although, of course, we've got Mars squaring the new moon and Uranus squaring Venus, so it could come as an epiphany. But I think more likely the idea of awakenings come gradually. It's just kind of a seeding of thought. Oh, you know what? This needs to happen, or I need to do this, or I've just noticed this thing. I've noticed this signal. So it is your unconscious mind really picking up all sorts of signals and trying to get in touch with you. This is Major Tom to ground control. This is your unconscious mind speaking to you consciously and saying, hey, you need to be open to this. You need to be alert and awake to this. And in a similar way, as I was talking about Aries in the 6th house, it is a time to be aware of your health and well-being and what isn't working well and what you need to do something about. But I suppose given its 12th house aura, which is a very spiritual area of the horoscope, then it is also about the health of mind and spirit. So it's an ideal opportunity to take up meditation, yoga, Pilates, all those things that bring harmony between mind, spirit, and the physical body. Maybe that's your new moon challenge, is to get that moving. So on to Cancer. And we can see here, if you have Cancer rising or you are a sun Cancer, then the new moon occurs in the 3rd house, the 3rd house of communication and travel. So this area of the chart is all about the sorts of things that help us communicate our ideas, our needs, our feelings. It can be that we do this with our friends, with our family, with our employers, with our employees, but it may also be our neighborhood. We need to get out more in the neighborhood when we've got a new moon here. We need to know what's going on in the neighborhood. Should we be part of it? Are there opportunities within our neighborhood for something that we need to subscribe to in some way? It's also a kind of social media house. So almost like what I was saying about if you've got a brand of any description, then this is a really important time to start thinking of how your social media is running. What do you need to do? Do you need more platforms? Do you need to change your platforms? It's also about learning and study. So at this time, you may decide to go on a course or to book a course for later on in the year, and that's a good thing. It may also be that you're looking at the future and looking at your skill set and thinking, you know what, I could do with getting extra qualifications or a new skill under my belt. And this is another promise that the new moon holds for you and something you should think about. Because, of course, the more we understand, the more knowledge we have, the more experience we have, the greater our opportunities, the wider the world opens up to us. So yes, we might get an opportunity to air our ideas. We may see that there are meetings to be had with people that are conducive to the spread of our influence in some way. And of course, there may be quite a lot of travel. And the new moon will either produce this all by itself, but you know what I'm like. Important to embrace it and think about all the themes that I've given you to put new focus onto new beginnings in this whole area of life. And so finally, we come to Capricorn, and this new moon is in the 9th house. One of my favorite areas of the horoscope. And of course, if you have Capricorn rising, we're looking at the 9th house too. Far horizons. Isn't that a wonderful label to put on this house? Far horizons. It sort of gives us an idea of what's out there. Maybe in other countries or other states or, you know, at a distance from us. And it means our focus should be on those things. And it can mean there's a journey coming. And maybe that is a journey to foreign parts or distant parts. Or maybe it is a journey, not necessarily very far away, but that journey is going to be a journey in experience and understanding and all those things that's going to make a difference to our views and maybe even as big as a difference to our life. Now, this is also a house in which we study, often it's things of a kind of highbrow nature, things that are a little bit removed from reading, writing, and arithmetic. We go into the world of philosophy, of religions, of, academia. That's where we are in the ninth house. So it's kind of highfalutin kind of knowledge and information. Some of you, Capricorns, are going off to university, off to college. So that new moon is what it's about. Wow, I'm going off, I'm embarking on this journey, this big journey of my life, which is attached to academia. But there could be all sorts of other ways in which this idea of starting a new journey in life is symbolized by this new moon. It's always good to have a refresher of our worldview, isn't it? Some of us get pretty stuck in our sense of what's going on in the world and how we view certain things. And sometimes it could do with a refresher. We need to take a new look at our world and the bigger world. And that then opens up new horizons for us. And so Capricorn, that's a very nice prospect. So I have gone through all the zodiac. And it's time really to come to my conclusion. And it sort of ties in a little bit with what I was talking about with Virgo, embracing your sign, loving it, living it, being it. So often when we get our horoscopes done, or we start to dig and delve into our natal charts, and we see, oh my goodness, look at that. There's an alignment, there's a planet in the wrong place doing something that we think is rather problematic. And we think, why did I end up with this horoscope? Why couldn't I have had a nicer horoscope? Well, of course, the important thing is the horoscope is who we are. We are born at a time where the planets reflect who we are. We couldn't be born at another time because it wouldn't be us. So our chart is our map. It's who we are, and it is our journey through life. And all the planetary positions and alignments, and of course, following that, transits and progressions that trace our journey through life. It's unique, it's ours. We couldn't have had anything better than the chart that we have. And of course, it's also about embracing those difficult configurations. I mean, I remember when I started to learn astrology, and I learned in the classroom with a whole lot of other people at the Faculty of Astrological Studies in London. And I remember looking at my chart and realizing, oh, my goodness, what's that doing there? And it was this very close Mars-Saturn conjunction. And I thought, I don't like that a bit. This is going to give me a really hard time in life. And it means I'm a bad person. Well, maybe that's true. Maybe I am a bad person. But the thing is that by embracing my Mars-Saturn conjunction, I've realized what a wonderful thing it is. It's given me tenacity. It's given me the ability to drive myself pretty hard. And it's given structure to me and organization, so many things. And yeah, I've had hard times. Who hasn't, right? So it's embracing the things that are in your chart and realizing that really it is uniquely you. And when we come across those points in life at which we falter and we seem to be held back, it's in looking at what the reasons are, because destiny, our destiny, is written in this chart of ours. And we have to realize that we're at a destined point, and what we need to do is grab destiny by the throat, so to speak, and work with it. Again, here I come with my, little motto for life, which is, work with what you've got. But a slightly different application here, in the sense that we need to positively use our difficulties in our chart to, be the best of ourselves and to get the best out of our lives. Destiny has a whole lot of things to throw in our path, and we can, it's within our chart to see it and, know it's coming up. But it's really the idea of not sort of being thwarted by our destiny, or believing in our bad luck so much as to say, this is my opportunity. This has been given to me, horrid as it is, because I'm going to make something. I'm going to make the best of myself through this. So those are my thoughts on this new moon in Virgo. I hope you've enjoyed my video, and if you have enjoyed it, please subscribe and send me comments, because I love to hear what you have to say about things, or what you're thinking of. So bye for now. See you next time.